You're listening to Generation AI
from Live Person.
Welcome everybody today to a new episode of Generation AI. I'm Ruth Zive, and it is my absolute pleasure today to bring Justin Gonzalez on the podcast. He is an amazing marketing and customer experience expert who most recently served as the global director for customer empowerment at Square, where he helped the 1,000 strong customer success team to leverage AI to increase efficiency by 25%. Now, I knew Justin while he blazed a trail over at Square, and so I am very excited today to get his perspective on all things AI and to dig a little bit deeper. In fact, we're going to discuss everything from creating what Justin calls a legendary customer experience to understanding the voice of your customers and obviously to the details of leveraging AI for optimization. So let's get started. Welcome to Generation AI, Justin.
Thank you so much, Ruth. I'm really excited to be here and appreciate the invite.
Of course. I'm very excited. Let's jump right in. If we can start with the basics, maybe share with our listeners a little bit about how you got interested in AI and how it started factoring into your career.
Yeah, I mean, my first foray, I think, into like the world of AI and automation began over 10 years ago implementing marketing automation software at a startup. When I joined the company, I was brought on to be the email marketing manager, very quickly expanded my scope and purview to cover content, communications, and strategy. And through that process, we were using a small email marketing system, and it was time for us to, I think, like mature our strategy a bit. And so it all began with marketing automation and really thinking creatively and differently about email nurture funnels and, lead acceleration and all of those things. Flash forward to coming into the customer experience world. And again, seeing an opportunity to bring automation into that experience several years prior to, the surgence of generative AI and like all of these things, which is where we are, I think, today. And just always having a curiosity for like, how can we do this better? How can we be more efficient? I've always been like a small, scrappy-minded person. And so I think that's also the approach that I take and why I love AI and automation is like with small teams, you can have this massive impact just by thinking, a little more creatively and innovatively about the types of experiences that you're bringing to your customers.
I love so much about what you said. And I knew that you had a little bit of a background in marketing, but you actually talk marketing and you originated in marketing. I didn't know that. And I think my first experience of automation, like from a systems perspective, was also with marketing automation. And I don't know, like we've integrated a lot of AI into what we do in marketing, but those email marketing platforms have not changed that much. It's a lot same, which is kind of interesting and maybe sad. Okay, I want to get to this legendary customer experience that you talk about. What does that mean? Like what makes a customer experience? I think even the term customer experience is, a little bit overused. And, I always say as a customer, like, am I having an experience truly? Like I want to buy something. I want to, I want an experience. Is it a journey? So talk to me about what makes that interaction, that experience, that journey, whatever word you want to assign to it, like legendary is the more interesting word to me. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the way that I kind of speak to this is I think every business, every organization, every brand is trying to build something that lasts the test of time. And so when I think about like, what are those things that have stood the test of time? It's legends. It's, Greek mythology, Norse mythology, like these stories that have been passed down for generations and millennia. Well, if we want our brands to stand the test of time, if we want our companies and our products to be these legendary things, then we have to give people an experience that they want to go and tell their friends, that they want to go and tell their parents or their grandparents, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I just had the most magical experience buying this product and they did X, Y, and Z, or I had to go and get support and they knew exactly what I needed. It was taken care of in seconds. I didn't have to do anything. It's thinking about like, how do we give our customers and our market, or the people that we're trying to sell to, these experiences that are worth sharing with other people. And then once those things are shared, right, now you have word of mouth that is spreading. You've created this flywheel organically just by delivering this magical customer experience. Again, whether that's going through the buying process or a support journey, maybe you have to increase or change your subscription flow, right? Like, how can we find those little magical moments that are worth talking about and worth sharing? I think about experiences for myself. I formerly was an avid runner. And I think, many folks would probably agree that Nike is one of the most fantastic brands in the athletic space. And for me, Nike wasn't just about the shoes that I was buying. It was what Nike enabled me to do. It was completing my first half marathon, and then my 10th half marathon, and then my first full marathon. It was every single thing that I did with Nike that allowed me to fulfill and achieve my personal goals. That, again, I'm going and telling people about those things and promoting them through word of mouth.
I think you're onto something. So getting back to my objection to the term customer experience, it sounds like from your point of view, something legendary is when a brand helps to power an experience for a customer. And that experience is really outside the realm in some ways of, the steps that they've undertaken as a customer, but it's how has it touched their lives? Because I was going to ask you what brand has done this for you outside of Square. So Nike is a great example. I would have said for me, even though I've never been there, I have this perception that Disney fulfills that promise. Like it is an experience at every touch point. And the other one that I always think about is the Four Seasons. Like they're just legends in delivering a great experience for their customers. So I love that. I'm going to think about customer experience now in a legendary context.
I appreciate that.
So, on the one side, you're trying to deliver these legendary customer experiences. On the other side, there's always a lot of pressure on the customer success organization to drive better efficiency, to bring down costs, to drive up productivity. And I think a lot of brands are leaning into AI as an enabler on that front, but it's not an easy thing to do. I'd love to hear from you, like how you were able to do that, what it took to bring those projects across the finish line, and then maybe a little bit about how you thought about success when it came to AI projects and how they delivered better efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, leading an AI, like a cross-functional initiative centered around artificial intelligence is no small feat. I think every person is going to come to the table with their own set of objectives, their own set of beliefs. I can't even tell you how many times I encountered people who said, no one wants to talk to a chatbot, or no one wants, to interface with an automation. And I'm over here like, they don't want to interface with bad chatbots, and they don't want to interface with bad experiences. So let's just agree that like, we're not going to create those, or at least like, hopefully for everyone, the goal is not a terrible experience. And so, you first have to really understand like what is everyone's objective and what's everyone trying to accomplish. I think this is where like I pull on my background quite a bit, coming from both the marketing as well as the customer experience standpoint, being able to understand what do marketing teams care about at their different stages of growth, right? Because no two marketing teams are going to be vying for the same numbers or the same objectives. It's the same with sales. It's the same with customer support. Frankly, it's the same with product. We all have different objectives. So how do we figure out like, where do those objectives overlap and where do they diverge? If they diverge, are we okay with that? Do we need everything to overlap, and does everything kind of need to come together? Or is it okay for things to kind of be a little bit different? Once you realize that like, ultimately at the end of the day, we're all probably trying to increase revenue. We're all probably trying to increase customer retention, and we're all probably trying to reduce churn and like increase cross-sell and upsell, right? Like, I don't care what part of the organization you are in, like that is every single person's job within a company. And once you realize that, I think you find the commonalities and the common ground that you can start to identify, okay, these are the projects, these are the initiatives that are going to help each of us sort of pursue these things. At the same time, marketing and sales understand how to craft, compelling copy. Customer support representatives might not entirely get that, or that might not be their skill set. So you're also figuring out like, where can we lean on each other's strengths and opportunities to then inform each of our own different strategies.
So was it a very cross-functional effort to roll this out? Like, was marketing in the mix on these projects?
I think it has to be, right? Like, and in some cases, yes, marketing was involved, and in others, no. We might have partnered more heavily with product or other parts of the organization. But yeah, I think when you're thinking about AI in particular in the customer experience, it really is a culmination of all of those different touch points. Just because someone is going into a support flow does not mean that it is not a cross-sell or an upsell opportunity. And it does not mean that we should just go off on our own and, think of like different value propositions, right? Like, this is where marketing is uniquely positioned. So let's tap into marketing to make sure that when we're introducing these value props or when we're introducing a new product, that we're doing it in a way that is authentic, on brand, and on message. Yeah. And so I think that's where you need that collaboration.
Yeah. Well, I talk a lot about the fact that your automations, your bots, in many ways are brand ambassadors, right? Like, that's often the first experience that somebody has of your brand. So you want to make sure that you're representing your brand in a way that's aligned to the marketing message. So I love that. Well, I have one other follow-on question. You started out by, how you put it is great. Nobody wants to roll out bad bots. Nobody likes interacting with crappy bots. Do you think that bots get the same bad rap? I mean, I've been in this space as you have for a while. A lot has happened. A lot has changed. Do you think that the tide is turning at all? Like, and we just did at LivePerson, we published a really interesting report, the state of customer conversations. There's still a lot of reluctance on the part of consumers to interact with AI. They're skeptical, but I'm wondering if you feel that the tide is turning at all.
I think yes and no. This is like one of the things that I'm the most excited about, particularly for this next year ahead of us, but it is also my greatest fear that all of these companies, all of these businesses are going to go and they're going to start finally implementing bots and automations. My fear is that they're going to roll out and a majority of these experiences are going to be garbage and they're just going to be clunky. And I think what I want to encourage people to be thinking about is, one, like the words that you're using when you're talking about your strategy. Deflection should be a bad word in customer experience.
Say that again. Say that again.
It's just like, if you're still measuring your success based on deflection, you do not care about your customers. I'm sorry. Like, that is just point blank where I'm coming from, hard line. Whether you call it automated resolution or whether you call it assisted resolution, AI assisted, like any of these terms, to me, I think demonstrate a more customer centric point of view where we're saying, hey, you can speak to a live agent for this issue, or we can resolve it for you right here automatically without ever having to get through to the phone queue or to a messaging channel. I think once people start interacting with more of those magical experiences, they're going to be more inclined to not scream agent, agent, agent at your IVR or just like try and bypass whatever menu system you might have in your chat flows. But my fear is that what we're likely to see in these next 6 to 12 months is a lot of really, really bad experiences because people are approaching it from the mentality of, I need to deflect. I need to just automate this away and not, I'm here to help my customers at scale.
Right. I think you're exactly right. You should read the report if you haven't read it already, because what it says is that the tide is turned on the business front, and there's a real appetite now on the part of business leaders. In fact, I think it was over 90% of business leaders felt that they were going to be rolling out bots and AI in the coming generative AI bots in the coming year. So I think everybody understands that this is an opportunity to transform the business. But consumers, the end users, are really reluctant. And I think it's for the reason that you've highlighted. I also think, we talk about this a lot at LivePerson, using your bots to make your agents more efficient, more knowledgeable, more productive. Like that's a real opportunity that doesn't require that you even put the automation in front of the customer. There's a way to use it internal facing that will up level your skilled and expensive workforce so that they can do a better job and be more efficient. So you're talking my language on all fronts. I want to talk a little bit about the voice of the customer. As a marketer, this matters a lot to me. And I believe you built the company's first cross-functional voice of the customer program. So I'd love to hear just a little bit about how you did that. Was AI involved? If it wasn't involved, could it have been? And if so, how? And then I'm going to steal what you've shared and I'm going to do it at LivePerson.
Yeah, I mean, building the voice of the customer program was particularly interesting because every team sort of had their own flavor of what this looked like. And they were each kind of doing it in their own way, oftentimes not following best practices or, commonly known and understood practices at least. And so one of the things that we really tried to do was think about what does the future look like and how can we streamline all of this so that we're measuring things consistently across different product experiences, whether it was the brand NPS study or a product NPS study, and just really thinking about that consistency component. In the early days, we were not leveraging artificial intelligence in our reporting. A lot of this was manually completed by an analyst, connecting and correlating NPS responses to customer data, so on and so forth. However, we were really, really excited about learning what generative AI in particular could do to augment and really start to supplement the work that we were doing as a team. Now, again, this is incredibly manual data analysis going on, cross-referencing all of these anonymous tokens and all of these things. We saw a massive opportunity to leverage generative. And so that was largely our last year, was learning about the different tools, technologies, and systems that we could start to integrate into what we were already doing. I think generative is going to create this ability for brands to get those insights really, really quickly and in real time so that they can start to act on them much more quickly. I think one of the things within Voice of the Customer, you're doing these like in-depth journey analyses. And again, you're looking at all of this data. It's months and months and months of work that like by the time you deliver this thing, we're like crossing our fingers that the data still matters and it's still accurate and it's still relevant. Because in consumer cycles and in business cycles, things can change really, really quickly. And so you might not have all of that time. And I think that's where AI is going to come in. It's going to make that reporting, it's going to make those insights way, way more readily available. And it's going to allow people from all types of backgrounds, I think, to come and be really impactful in this space. You don't have to be a data analyst to be successful at Voice of the Customer. You do need to be a compelling storyteller. You do need to know the types of questions to ask the AI, but you don't necessarily need to be, have a background in data and Python and all these things.
Totally. We just launched a product that we call Generative Insights, in fact, and that's exactly what it is. It's how do you conversationally query your data to expose customer insights. So one of our customers, Chipotle, did this, and they were able to better understand, I think it was order cancellation. There was something about, they wanted to know what the biggest reasons around and they exposed an insight that hadn't even occurred to them that would have taken a very long time to extract through data analysis. So I think you're exactly right. It's going to eliminate, it's not that jobs are necessarily going to go away on the data analysis front, because once you've identified the insight, you always want to dig deeper, and you've always got it. You always got validate, but it's just going to allow everybody to operate so much faster, and it's going to expose the data, I agree, to so many other stakeholders across the organization. As a marketer, I would love this. What is the number one reason that visitors to the website fill a form? I'd love to know that without having to do a very deep analysis that relies on that team inside of the company. So I love that you rolled out the program. I agree with you. There's lots of promise on the horizon where generative AI can play a role. I want you to look into your crystal ball a little bit more and talk about what changes you predict for AI, specifically in the customer experience world, and how you think customers are going to react to these changes.
I mean, I think, there's no secret. I think we're going to see a huge shift towards digital support channels. I think we've already been observing that, right? Like the emergence of messaging, asynchronous chat, whatever you want to call it, as like a primary method of delivering and receiving support. But I think we're going to see this like incredible shift towards these channels really, really quickly here. I think we're likely to see much fewer people gravitating towards phone. So I would imagine that the mix between the different channels, phone is going to continue to go down in demand as well as in delivery. And we're going to see more folks adopting chat first or automation first, digital first approaches to their support experiences. I think that's really going to shift the skill sets that different customer support and experience teams are going to hire for. Writing, I think, becomes a bit more important. How you help and support someone through a digital channel versus what you do with them over the phone, how you communicate emotion and tone, I think it is a very different skill set. And I think through that, what we're going to see is a different career ladder, I think, for folks on the frontline support side. We're going to see a lot smaller teams because there should be less of a need for that much. And I think we're going to start to see more people shift into customer insights types positions. And we're going to see more people shift into chatbot managers, AI prompt engineers, or prompt managers, and all of these types of things. And so I'm really excited to see, what that shift looks like for the career trajectory of the support space, because it is, I think, going to be the first real frontier in generative. We're already seeing this happen, and so I think the role of support operations is going to maybe finally get the recognition that it has so long deserved within the broader organization.
I hope your predictions are true. I agree with them for what it's worth. These are the bets that we're making at LivePerson, and we're watching our customers do this. We have customers that have had, lots of dependence on traditional voice channels, call center, IVR, shift massive volumes of customer conversations into digital channels. So it's happening. And I do think that generative AI is going to accelerate that process and be a real enabler of that transformation. So I look forward to watching it happen in real time. We could go on and on talking about all of this, but we're at the end of our time. And this next segment we're going to do is called Hype It or Hate It. And our producer, Britt, is going to put a 60-second timer for each of us to rant about something we want to hype or hate. And the rules are that you can be positive or negative, obviously, but you only have 60 seconds. And I want you to get really, really heated one way or the other. And I'm not sure who's going first. I think it's me that's going first.
Hi, Ruth. Yes. Are you two ready is the question.
Let's go. I've got my stretches.
I'm going to go first, which will set the bar very low.
Yes. Ruth, you are going to go first. When you hear the buzzer, your time is up. I will let you know when you're at 30 seconds and then 10 seconds. And Ruth, are you ready?
I am ready to go.
All right. The clock is beginning. Your 60 seconds starts now.
Okay, I'm going to talk about something that I used this week, and I really, really want to hype it. And the thing is, those apps that you use to make photo albums, I used one for the first time this week, and I want to talk about why I think it's incredible, because I'm very old and I grew up in the era of photo albums with those sticky plastic covers, and you had to go to the store and wait a week to get your camera film developed. But I love having one of those physical albums to look through. So I have so many pictures on my phone over the last decade that are organized in no particular order of my children, my grandchildren, my family, and I want to be able to hold them and see them, not just on Instagram. So I made my first, it was called a mix book. And inside of 20 minutes, I made the most incredible book, and it showed up at my house, and it's so beautiful, and I can flip through the pages, and I can sit on the couch and show it to everybody, and I can't wait to make a million more. It is the most incredible thing, and I love it.
You came in just under time.
Have you ever used one of those, Justin?
No, I have not. I am also from the era of physical sticky photo albums.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of them on a shelf behind me, but haven't made one of those for years. But this was so fun and satisfying. So
I love it.
Justin, you're going to go in next. It's your turn. Your 60 seconds, hype it or hate it, is up now.
Okay, I want to hype this report that LinkedIn just produced recently, which is representing the most in-demand skills for job seekers in 2024. The top 3 skills, according to LinkedIn research, are communication, customer service, and leadership. These are not technical skills. These are what are typically considered to be soft skills. These are skills that people in the customer experience world tend to be very good about, customer service being the second of those skills. I'm really, really excited to see a future where hiring managers and teams are thinking about and prioritizing not just the technical expertise and functional expertise of an individual, but their ability to actually engage, communicate, and foster, I think, a healthy and collaborative team culture. And so I'm really big on kindness, and it's just refreshing to see that kindness is in demand.
Also under the buzzer. Ruth, what do you think?
I love that. I always say, you hire for both skill and will, and I'll hire for will over skill every day of the week. So, and the soft skills, which I think in some ways are more aligned to attitude and approach, willingness to learn, kindness, to me, those are the ones that matter more than anything. So I am on board with that. Okay, well, we are at the end of our segment, Justin, and I had so much fun, and I hope you'll come back and do it again. Why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you if they want to learn more about you?
Come find me on LinkedIn. I am always chatting and sharing different things, perspectives, and experiences. I sit through really terrible automated customer experiences, and I write about them frequently so that you don't have to sit through them. So please come and join me on LinkedIn.
Amazing. And everybody who listened to this episode, please tune in for the next one and subscribe to Generation AI wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks so much, Justin.
You've been listening to Generation AI,
Automating Better Business,
a show from LivePerson.
Never miss an episode by subscribing to the show in your favorite podcast player. Please give us a rating, leave a comment, and share the episodes you love. Until next time.